Okay, so next chapter, getting to know John Welton, Papa John. Tell us about that. From a nun to now you have, the process.
Well,
the name and.
Of course, Uncle Bob and Uncle Tim got us started on information about John Kenneth Welton. But it's when we finally made contact with Jean Cassida, who relayed the message to Dean Cassida, who called, had a good conversation over the phone, and Dean invited us to visit them in North Carolina, which we said we would be able to do after we rendezvous with Uncle Tim and Uncle Bob and their two friends in Cleveland and visit the old Welton former homestead in Kirkland, Ohio. So we did that, and we went through Ohio and West Virginia and Tennessee, and we got to North Carolina. And there, what Uncle Tim said was right. North Carolina, the Cassidas were pivotal in many ways, but to answer the question, they were pivotal because they knew John and his wife Loretta for a span of over 30 years. And so they were able to tell us how John and Loretta met and about their careers, about how they lived in Spruce Pine, North Carolina, and upon retirement from the Army in Texas, and how Dean and John hunted together. Now, if you go hunting with someone, that's a lot of time together in the woods, sometimes quiet, but there's a lot of opportunity to talk and get to know each other. It involves courtesy and safety, and killing big game to eat, to harvest the meat, and so lots of skills and person's virtues or lack of gets revealed, and so over the years, Dean and John and with others hunted well together, and they got to know each other well. And then when Loretta, John's wife, passed away from complications from a surgery and the wrong medication that was prescribed by the doctors for Loretta, and we learned how deep was their love for each other and devotion for each other as a married couple, and also the loss that meant for John and Loretta passed away. And then subsequently, after Loretta passed away, John and Dean's family became closer friends. And here, it reminded me of the concept of friends, meaning close friends that you choose, that you're so close that you are like family. Perhaps even better than family, really, but like family. And then also family that you choose to spend time with because you are like friends, close friends, right? Where good friends and good family intersect. So they're through Dean and Jean and their daughter Danielle and her husband Shane and one of their two children Colin. We were able to, over 6-7 days, we were able to get a lot of information about John. And the conclusion from all this was that, in their opinion, it was not possible that John knew about me, about my existence. Also, what's not possible was that he would be someone who would be negligent, because he was very considerate and appropriate, delighted in speaking the truth, even if that meant that truth wasn't uncomfortable to others. And John and Loretta shared both of those traits. They had elements of generosity in their life, and they cared for their friends well and their friends' children. So while truth is beautiful, even if it's unpleasant or welcome truth. What we got was truth that was welcome, that was delightful to hear, that made me feel wonderful about Papa John, that he was a fun and curious and engaged person. Yeah. So that's what we learned.
Yeah. Tell us the moment you walk into the Cassidas.
So
When you step into the house where your father has stayed.
we, first of all, I got us kind of lost. We were able to see Eastern Tennessee for about maybe 30 minutes to an hour, and we arrived to Spruce Pines, the Cassidas home, a little bit late, and it's raining and it's dark, and we saw Dean pacing at the balcony, and we brought a bottle of maple syrup from the Amish from Ohio, and when they saw the maple syrup bottle in my hand as I was delivered, both Dean and Jean's eyes lit up, and they were amazed because apparently John, when he came to visit from Ohio, always brought maple syrup. Papa John, when he came to visit from Ohio, brought maple syrup, and it became kind of an unspoken tradition. And so out of the blue, what a coincidence, right? Pei and I come to visit, and we bring maple syrup from Ohio. Also, coincidence is that we arrive in a Jeep Wrangler, which happened to be Papa John's favorite kind of car, Jeep Wrangler. And so there's a wealth of coincidences and similar type of behaviors that we were able to learn. And yes, truth, even if it's unwelcome or unpleasant, is beautiful. But boy, when they're as welcomed and cherished as all those stories that we've heard. Now, who knows if Dean and Jean only told us the best stories or the positive stories. But overall, we got the feeling of the kind of person John was, and most importantly, he was a fun person. He was someone who's enjoying life with his friends and sometimes family. And so that was wonderful to see.
How did you feel the moment you were given Papa John's dog tags and put it around your neck?
Well,
that was the closest.
Yeah, I thought that was
this item personalized.
That was a first physical memento of something that that touched John's body, and that I was able to wear. I was just very grateful that John knew somebody who cared about John enough to say this. I think what that token was, it's like the example of when you take communion at church. The piece of bread that the minister or the priest gives you is just a piece of bread, whether it's pressed white or whatever, right? It's a little bit of wine that someone gives you in this communion. It's just some beverage with alcohol. But the intent and the meaning and the evocation that represents makes it communion. So to be in Dean and John's house, to have Dean bring me the dog tags and photos and mementos, and for us to be able to touch it and for me to wear it, that was communion. So that felt holistically just wonderful. And for a split second, I also thought about all those other people who have never got a chance to have this kind of information. One could always think like, oh, I got this, it's good, I wish I had more. I wish I had more in the past, I wish I had more now. But what I got is what I got, and it's still a lot more than a lot of people around the world have. People who have everything take things for granted. Fortunately, or unfortunately, or whatever the reason is because mine got to me through the efforts of people who cared about me. Okay, that I was able to enjoy this. So in that moment, a lot of thoughts and feelings just flashed through my heart and my mind. But the feeling that I got was like communion. It's like almost, romantically imagining I was being rewarded by Providence for doing my best.
What about visiting the cemetery where your father was buried? That would be the closest you've ever physically to your father.
Our personal mission was to see Uncle Bob and Uncle Tim. So we got that accomplished. But then we had a bonus a mission to hear stories about Papa John and to see where him and his wife are buried. So Dean taking us to this private cemetery in the woods, and we were prepared that maybe it might not have been kept up as much as we would like. Well, rest assured, when we got there, we saw that somebody cared and loved about this family legacy, and so it was nicely tended to. Even if it was raining, it would be beautiful. But as a matter of fact, it turned out to be a wonderful, sunny, pleasant day. And we went to this cemetery, and to our surprise, Grandma and Grandfather's headstone, George and Eleanor's headstone was there. And then we had the headstone and the footstone, I think, of Papa John and who would have been my stepmother, Loretta. And that culminated a deep desire we had to make this connection with and pay our respects to our entire family. And when we say pay our respects to our entire family, yes, Uncle John and Loretta are the pivotal, but they're the reason that allow us to enjoy the ripple of relationships that we have through Gene and Dean and everybody else who brought us here, people that we know and people that we don't know. So being at that cemetery, what it does is it connects all the living together by remembering the people who are no longer living. So I was able to share some whiskey in my way with Papa John, and also we shared tea, right, with Loretta and Papa John. In hindsight, I also wish I had shared whiskey with Loretta too. I think she would have enjoyed that.
John and I suppose have in common because
nobody know. But
yeah. Well, I'm a slower learner, so it probably took me longer than John.
probably not. To be honest, probably not.
Right.
We were saying as we were walking out a few minutes ago about the only difference coming out of the restaurant was John had been in the back of the line.
Right.
And one of them made the comment, yeah, but we didn't know John at that age. And I said, yeah, in fact, we really did. John was well read. John read out constantly and everything. A lot of political, books about politics but John was he read
the newspaper, dear heavens.
Newspaper.
Yeah,
He
Wall Street
was
Journal,
that.
newspapers. Wall Street Journal, he had to have it.
Yeah, I got to have my. I have to have my Wall Street Journal and Barron's on print. Because